For decades, reaching 200,000 miles was considered proof that a vehicle was built right. If you bought the right engine, followed the maintenance schedule, and didn't abuse it, there was a good chance that vehicle would still be running strong long after the loan was paid off. In fact, many Americans still drive vehicles with 200,000, 300,000, or even 400,000 miles on the odometer today. But something has changed over the last decade. Automakers have been under enormous pressure to improve fuel economy, reduce emissions, increase horsepower, and meet stricter government regulations. As a result, engines have become smaller, more complicated, and packed with technology. Turbochargers, direct injection systems, start-stop technology, variable valve timing, cylinder deactivation, modern engines are engineering marvels. But in many cases, all that complexity comes at a cost. Now, before we begin, it's important to understand that not every engine on today's list is guaranteed to fail. There are owners who have gotten excellent results from these engines. However, compared to some of the legendary engines that regularly reach 200,000 or even 300,000 miles, these power plants have developed enough reliability concerns that mechanics and long-term owners often approach them with caution. Today's list is based on common reliability complaints, expensive repair patterns, known design weaknesses, and long-term ownership concerns reported by owners and technicians across America. So if you're shopping for a used vehicle, thinking about buying one of these models, or simply want to know which engines might cost you thousands of dollars down the road, stay tuned. Let's get started. 5. GM 1.5-liter turbo, small engine, big concerns. At number 5, we have General Motors' 1.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine. On paper, this engine sounds fantastic. It's fuel-efficient, surprisingly powerful for its size, and found in extremely popular vehicles like the Chevrolet Equinox, Chevrolet Malibu, GMC Terrain, and several other GM products. The problem begins with the reality of what this engine is being asked to do. Years ago, a mid-size SUV would have used a naturally aspirated V6 engine. Today, manufacturers are trying to get similar performance from much smaller turbocharged engines. That means the engine is working harder almost all the time. One major concern owners frequently report involves excessive oil consumption. Some drivers notice the oil level dropping much faster than expected between oil changes. While not every engine experiences this problem, it has become common enough to make buyers nervous. Then there are turbocharger concerns. Turbochargers are fantastic for performance and efficiency, but they're also another expensive component that can eventually fail. Once warranty coverage disappears, turbo repairs can become surprisingly expensive. Another issue involves cooling system failures and head gasket concerns reported by some owners. Again, not every vehicle experiences these problems, but the number of complaints has raised concerns among mechanics. What makes this situation even worse is that many owners don't realize there's a problem until significant damage has already occurred. Imagine buying a vehicle because it promises fuel savings, only to discover that major engine repairs could wipe out those savings entirely. That's why many independent mechanics still prefer larger, naturally aspirated engines for long-term ownership. So here's the question. Would you rather have a small turbocharged engine with great fuel economy or a larger engine with fewer long-term worries? 4. Hyundai/Kia 2.4-liter Theta 2, one of the most controversial engines ever. At number 4, we have the infamous Hyundai and Kia 2.4-liter Theta 2 engine. This engine appeared in millions of vehicles sold across America, including the Hyundai Sonata, Hyundai Santa Fe, Kia Sorento, Kia Optima, and several others. And honestly, this engine became one of the biggest reliability headaches Hyundai and Kia have ever faced. The issue wasn't just one isolated problem. Many owners experienced engine knocking, excessive oil consumption, bearing failures, and in some cases, complete engine failure. Some vehicles failed surprisingly early compared to what owners expected. The situation became so serious that it led to massive recalls, lawsuits, warranty extensions, and years of negative publicity. Now, to Hyundai and Kia's credit, the companies took significant steps to address many customer concerns. But the damage to the engine's reputation had already been done. One reason this story became such a big deal is because buyers often chose these vehicles specifically because they offered excellent value for money. People thought they were making a smart financial decision. Instead, some owners found themselves facing catastrophic engine failures. Even today, many mechanics advise used car buyers to research Theta, two-powered vehicles, extremely carefully before purchasing one. Because while some examples have survived high mileage, many others never came close to the 200,000-mile mark owners expected. And honestly, that's exactly why this engine lands near the top of today's list. 3 Ford 1.5-liter EcoBoost. Efficiency comes at a price. Ford's EcoBoost lineup revolutionized the automotive industry. The idea was simple: use turbocharging and direct injection to deliver V6 performance from a smaller four-cylinder engine. And in many ways, it worked brilliantly. The problem is that some EcoBoost engines developed reliability concerns that raised serious questions about long-term durability. The 1.5-liter EcoBoost, found in vehicles like the Ford Escape and Ford Fusion, became particularly controversial. One of the most discussed problems involved coolant intrusion. For some owners, coolant could leak into the cylinders due to design flaws, eventually leading to severe engine damage. And once coolant starts entering places it shouldn't, repair bills can escalate quickly. Some owners found themselves needing complete engine replacements. Think about that for a moment. An engine replacement is one of the most expensive repairs most drivers will ever face. The frustrating part is that many vehicles experiencing these issues were not particularly old. Ford eventually made changes and improvements, but the reputation damage remained. Even today, many used car buyers specifically ask whether a particular EcoBoost engine has received updated components before considering a purchase. And honestly, that's not the kind of conversation people want to have when shopping for a reliable vehicle. 2. Chrysler 3.6-liter Pentester. Great when it works, expensive when it doesn't. The 3.6-liter Pentester. 5.6 is actually a fascinating engine, because unlike some engines on this list, it has also received praise over the years. You'll find it in everything from Jeep Grand Cherokees and Wranglers to Dodge Chargers, Chrysler minivans, and Ram trucks. The problem is that certain model years developed enough issues to make long-term owners nervous. Cylinder head failures became one of the most well-known concerns. Owners reported misfires, rough running, and expensive repairs related to cylinder head problems. There were also reports involving oil cooler housing failures, which can create oil leaks and costly repair bills. Now, it's important to be fair here. Many Pentester engines have accumulated impressive mileage numbers, but the reason this engine appears on today's list is because certain versions developed reliability patterns that make 200,000 miles far less certain than buyers might hope. And that's a shame, because when functioning properly, the Pentester delivers strong performance and good overall drivability. The issue is simply long-term consistency. When buyers spend thousands of dollars on a vehicle, they want confidence. And confidence becomes difficult when expensive repair stories are everywhere online. 1. GM 3.6-liter V6 early direct injection models, the engine that destroyed wallets. At number 1, we have the early direct injection versions of GM's 3.6-liter V6. This engine appeared in a huge number of vehicles, including the Chevrolet Traverse, GMC Acadia, Buick Enclave, Cadillac SRX, Chevrolet Camaro, and many others. And honestly, the reason this engine earns the number 1 spot comes down to one word: timing chains. Timing chain problems became notorious on certain versions of this engine. Owners reported stretched timing chains, check engine lights, poor performance, and expensive repairs that often arrived much earlier than expected. The repair costs weren't small either. Fixing timing chain problems on these engines could easily cost thousands of dollars because of the labor involved. And unfortunately, timing chains weren't the only concern. Some owners also dealt with oil consumption issues and other reliability headaches that made long-term ownership stressful. What makes this story especially frustrating is that many of these vehicles were otherwise attractive products. They offered good performance, comfortable interiors, and strong features for the money. But once major engine repairs entered the picture, ownership costs skyrocketed. That's exactly why many mechanics still warn buyers about older GM 3.6-liter V6 vehicles today. Because reaching 200,000 miles becomes much harder when expensive repairs start appearing long before that milestone. At the end of the day, modern engines are more powerful and efficient than ever before. But unfortunately, not every engine was built with the same long-term durability standards that made older vehicles legendary. Now remember, appearing on this list doesn't mean every single engine will fail. Some owners have achieved impressive mileage with proper maintenance and a little luck. But compared to the most reliable engines on the road today, these power plants have developed enough concerns to make buyers think twice. If this video helped you, make sure to subscribe because we regularly cover the most reliable engines, the worst engines, SUVs that last forever, and vehicles you should avoid at all costs. And before you leave, comment below. Which modern engine do you trust the least? And which engine do you think can easily reach 300,000 miles? Let me know in the comments.